All right, fantastic. We are live. Welcome, everybody. Hey, Ariel, good to see you as always. I'm already seeing some names coming up in the chat, which is fantastic. So my name is Amanda Stark, and you are with College Virtual Connections. Tonight, we're going to be talking a lot about scholarships, one of my favorite topics, and probably as a college counselor, one of the biggest topics and questions that I get from parents and students is how do I look for scholarships and what scholarships are out there? And I'm going to let in just a few slides my two guests, but I have Lynn with Girls Going Places, who will introduce herself here in just a little bit, and Milena from the Southwest Florida Community Foundation. And again, we'll be talking all about kind of scholarships tonight, what we need to know, kind of the back end process. So a lot of really good information. Just as a reminder, we have a lot of partners for College Virtual Connections. I think this is like our 10th webinar that we've been doing live. And we have the Future Makers Coalition as part of this program, College Unmazed, Sylvan Learning, Southwest Florida Parent and Child, the Lee County School District of Lee County. And underneath there is Earn to Learn and Girls Going Places. Underneath our faces is right there as well. Melina and Lynn, you can hear me, right?
Yes, we can hear you.
I just wanted to make sure. Sometimes it doesn't work. So hopefully you guys can all hear me. And again, my name is Dr. Amanda Stirk. I work out at FSW as the Director of Dual Enrollment, but I'm also the author of College Unmazed, which is sort of the guidebook for Florida students to get through the college process, which is exciting because I just released on both iOS and Google Play the app book or the app. So make sure you download that and get that. It's for free. So let's start. And Milena, why don't you go first? Tell us a little bit about your organization and who you work for, what you do.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Amanda, for organizing this and having me. My name is Milena Moat. My title is Head of Empowerment and Social Mobility. And that basically means I oversee our entire scholarship program and work on a lot of other things as far as programming is concerned that deals with equity. And my favorite thing, though, is scholarships. And I love working with students and watching them thrive and awarding them at the end of the school year and being able to just to be a part of that process and that stage in their life is definitely fulfilling for me and for the community, honestly.
Fantastic. Lynn?
Well, I'm Lynn Kimmick. I'm the Director of Girls Going Places. We're celebrating our 22nd anniversary at Florida Gulf Coast University this next May 2021. Girls Going Places is a program that was designed, actually piloted here in Fort Myers in 1999. And it was teaching young girls that are 12 to 18 years old about financial independence, financial acumen, what it means to be an entrepreneur, and the scholarships that we give to the girls that we've been giving to the girls every single year has been, pretty nice. The awards are $10,000 for the first place, $5,000, $3,000, and then 12 finalists get $1,000, and they're able to use those scholarships for their education and or furthering themselves in their entrepreneurial spirit in their businesses. And it's been a lot of fun. It's been a really great time. We've seen a lot of very successful business owners over the years, and even the 12-year-olds and 13-year-olds have been aspirations to being entrepreneurs. So
excellent. Well, I look really forward to both of you tonight sharing your expertise and sort of how kids earn these scholarships and some of the opportunities out there for not only our Southwest Florida students, but also students across the state to really check into other organizations and other foundations. Okay, perfect. I'm just making sure everyone can hear us. Okay. So what I would love to do right now, I do see some people already getting signed on. If you could use the chat feature, which is on the right-hand side, just let us know what grade you're in and what high school you go to, because I always like our panelists to kind of know where you're coming from, so we sort of know, who to talk about and so forth like that. So if you can do that. And then this is going to be another sort of panel type of discussion like we've had in the past, and ask your questions throughout, because all three of us are sort of monitoring the chat. And I'll be asking the questions to both Milena and Lynn that they can answer throughout. So definitely make sure that you do put in the chat any questions that you have. So I'm seeing some Fort Myers. I know I have Charlotte. Oh, I have some collegiate high schools, Flagler, Immokalee, Chiles High School. Awesome. Claremont. Very cool. Oasis. FSWC. Great. So definitely coming from kind of all over, which is always fantastic. Thank you, guys. All right. So we will, like I said, open up to the kind of chats throughout. I have some questions to ask all the participants, which will be really great. And then just as a reminder, in 2 weeks will be our last one on financial aid and reading award letters. So make sure you tune in for December 15th. So I am going to actually turn off my screen here because we don't need any more. And it'll just be us hanging out. There we go. We went big. Hey, guys. So kind of one of the questions I have, and maybe Milena, you could help us start us off with this question. So there's a lot of different types of scholarships out there. And I think students sort of get overwhelmed with the scholarship process because we all say there's money, there's money, there's money, right? Mm-hmm. But how do we tap into that money? And which can be, like I said, can be sort of overwhelming. So tell us a little bit about local scholarships and how that might be different than maybe what they've heard in the past.
Yes, and I think that starting off with, a lot of students think scholarships and they think that I have to be an AP course or I have to have a perfect GPA. And especially with local scholarships, I work at a community foundation where scholarships are set up by donors, and those donors set their criteria. So I have donors who are very passionate about students who have a C average, and I have a very high scholarship that is for a 2.0 to 3.0 GPA. I have some donors that are really passionate about higher GPA, so they set that criteria. So first and foremost, I think when students hear scholarship, I think they should only hear free money and nothing else as far as criteria is concerned, because right now, especially with local scholarships, the criteria for them is a little bit more direct in terms of what the donor wants to incorporate or give their money to as far as education is concerned. So at a community foundation, we have 104 scholarship funds, and all of the criteria is different. Donors don't meet up and discuss what criteria is the best. They go for what they're passionate about. So if they're passionate about a particular major, they're going to set up a scholarship for a student studying that field, or going to a particular school, or being in a particular club or sport when they were in high school. We have donors who are super passionate about students returning to school, so adult learners, single mothers. There's scholarships for every type of person out there, and I think students need a lot of guidance as to where to look for those, certainly. But for community foundations and a lot of local scholarships, you will find that the criteria is different across the board, no matter where you look.
Yeah.
Great. I know there's one that you guys have at the foundation, which is like average kids who want to do great things. And that's one of my favorite. I know one of my former students received that. It was $10,000 for 4 years. It was a $40,000 scholarship. Yep. And so, sometimes they might be $1,000, or, Lynn, you were kind of talking about the 3,000 or the 1,000. That all adds up, right? And so maybe, Lynn, talk about kind of how you guys raise money and how you sort of that type of scholarship process for your organization.
Well, thank you for asking that question, because it's really important. Girls Going Places is, really self-funded as far as raising money. I write the check. I do have some donors. We do some community events. We just got done doing a virtual race that was really successful to raise the money for the scholarships. And we determine who's going to get the scholarships. We, meaning me and like the Verizon team behind me, because I don't really want to be the one that wants to make the decision, but they blindly read, the scholarship applications, but the criteria really, is, a lot like Melena's. I mean, there's so many different people that are involved in, donating the money, but they do all understand that it's about having, aspirations for financial acumen, making sure that they're financially independent, making sure they understand their school loans if they have them, and how do they get out of debt and things like that if they're going to have school loans. The biggest part of Girls Going Places is entrepreneurialism, and these girls are 12 to 18 years old, and the application is on the website. They have to fill that part of it out. They can be nominated by a woman in the community. They could be nominated by their school counselors or guidance counselors or school principals. And, going back to what Melena said, and then, even, Dr. Stirk, one of your favorite, scholarships that were awarded. I go back to a article that I read in Time Magazine that was probably in 2015, 2016, that talked a lot about how most CEOs of companies are C students. And you can kind of see the correlation between that and entrepreneurialism. And, and so it's just filling out, the application for one, them being nominated. It's read by a panel of people. They don't know, really who, who it came from, or, there's no influence by me on, my favorites or anything like that. But they are cash scholarships. And so they can use them for college, or they can actually use them for their businesses that they're starting, or maybe businesses that they've already created, which is really a great thing.
And I think I'll kind of back up a second here. So, a lot of kids think of the big national websites that have the fast web and all the scholarships. And half the time I feel like it's just they're going to sell your email. And all of a sudden you sign up for one of those websites and you're bombarded as parents and students. And it's sort of, getting through that, muddling through all of that, right? And finding like what really matters. And so one of the reasons why I invited both of you to be on here tonight is because it's real money for our local community. So whether you're here in Southwest Florida or you're over in Palm Beach, everybody basically has their own foundation and their own sort of these private little organizations that have these scholarships. And I don't remember the number. You can, Melena, how many people, let's see, last year you gave out what, $750,000, almost $800,000? Is that, I think approximately?
Almost 870.
870. It keeps rising every year. I remember a few years ago, it was like 600, And if I remember right, and you said it was 104 scholarships, I think 104, something like that. And multiple. So there's quite a few, say 125. I think we only had 450 applicants. Like we really, you think 1,000 kids are going to apply for these local scholarships. And it's amazing how many students don't, and how much $4,000 could do for you, or $1,000 or $20,000. And so, no matter where you're from, and I just want to kind of really let our listeners know, that's why I think these local scholarships are so important. Obviously, other money is going to be big national scholarships. They are out there, but they're harder to get because you're now competing against 10,000 students or 20,000 students across the nation. But typically, local scholarships, institutional, meaning from the college, and FAFSA are the three places. Fill out your FAFSA, people. Fill out your FAFSA. Those are the three places that you're really going to get awarded the most money. So is there something like Girls Going Places for boys who want to start a business? Do you know of any, Lynn, that are for boys specifically?
I don't. And I'm not really sure who asked that question because let's see.
Ariel. Yeah, it's
Ariel,
on mine.
yeah. This year is actually going to be a little bit different. We are going to be taking Girls Going Places live, as a conference. And I've been asked that question many times about, where's the Boys Going Places program? And, if you look back in history, and you go back to, the early 70s when a lot of women went back into the workforce, and the difference in income, and, breaking that ceiling of trying to, we do the same jobs, but our incomes are so different. That's why Girls Going Places was actually created. At some point, there's, we're women, when we start to get older, we're going to be widowed, divorced, or alone at some point. And so I wouldn't so much say, I would take the information from Girls Going Places, because there's some activities that we do through the day, which include, it's a board game, that's going to be played live that, sort of teaches you about, what it means to be a business owner. And, the first thing that always comes up is, taxes. What are those? That's always a light bulb moment that goes off. We work on a project where I think is really the most impactful part of the day is where we have a lot of women business owners that come into the conference, and they're so giving of their time because it's almost an entire day, but they get to ask the questions about how much money do you make being a doctor, or how much money do you make being a lawyer, or how much money do you make being a doctor and a lawyer, and so it's kind of a free open forum where the kids can ask questions. And so yes, we are looking at expanding that portion of it, because it's not just girls. It should be made available for boys as well. And the most important part of the day is actually a budget that we take the girls through, and it's from school loans and health insurance and home ownership and cars. And, imagine yourself being 24 years old and you just graduated college. What do you see yourself? What do you see it looking like? And there's a lot of misconceptions out there about what our parents are actually paying for. And so it's a real great activity, to go through. So, yes, the thought is there. Sorry, there was a long-winded answer, but I think it would be important for all students to go through.
And I think that's kind of what you're saying. So Girls Going Places is a little bit different because it's an activity, and then you have the possibility of sort of the scholarship by attending the activity, and there's other programs that are like that. Like if you're in a science fair and you win the science fair, you can get a scholarship. Or if you win the art fair, you can get a scholarship. So there's ones that are sort of embedded throughout high school, as early as 8th, 9th, 10th grade. They're definitely out there. A little bit different, which kind of begs the next question I'm going to toss over to Milena, is yours is like a pure application. So it's not about do something and then apply, and see if you can get the scholarship. It's apply, and then we figure out who to award the scholarship for. So Milena, on yours, on the Southwest Florida Community Foundation, which again, multiple counties have these foundations throughout. Usually school districts have a foundation as well. We have like the Lee County Foundation who gives scholarships to Lee County students. Collier has one. Charlotte has one. How do students, for you, Milena, how do students go about kind of applying, and what does that process kind of look like on your side?
Of course. I just want to let Ariel know too that just because, we have representation of an organization who serves only girls, there are scholarships that serve only boys. I have several. So don't get discouraged just because, there's a program being highlighted with that only serves girls. There's definitely programs out there that only serve boys too. Yes, but to answer your question, Dr. Stick, yes, our application is application. We do have some scholarships that are with outside committees who we just host their applications, who do require like attending a lunch or something like that. But usually those students, they know of those scholarships, and they go through a nomination process with their guidance counselors, and that leads them to our application. But the majority of our scholarships, there's like maybe 2 or 3 that are with outside committees that do require something before applying. Most of them you just directly apply for our scholarships, and I'll show you our website really quickly so you can see. So our scholarship application is different in the sense that it's all online. Students don't have to mail in or fax anything to me. They come here to floridacommunity.com, click scholarships, or you can type in /scholarships, and our site looks like this. These lovely people across the top are past recipients who are now in their careers. And you can click here to apply, and you're directly taken to our online application. If you want to see scholarships that are available this year, here's our list. So I saw that there's some undergrads or underclassmen on here that are in 10th and 9th grade. For those of you who are not high school seniors right now, I strongly encourage you to start a senior binder. And in that senior binder, you're going to put scholarship opportunities, FAFSA information, all of this information that you can get your hands on now, because you will love yourself when you're a senior and you don't have time because you're worrying about so many other things, college applications and such. So kudos to you for finding this webinar and joining. I strongly encourage you to come on this site, look at our scholarships, check out other community foundations, such like if you're in Charlotte County, you have access to Sarasota's Community Foundation, who also awards Charlotte County students. Palm Beach County awards Hendry County students. So definitely look around and look at our site too. And we make a lot of information available for the community, especially parents. If you're interested in our scholarship program, we look at our scholarships through an equity lens. So I always publish our data from our applicants and use it to target marketing. There's a webinar here that I did a couple of weeks ago on our application that's super detailed, and other information on here as well. So our application is entirely online. We do have an interview process that is for students who are eligible for scholarships that are $10,000 or more. So the top scoring students will be invited to an interview, which is done by members of our board who are on our scholarship committee. So if you're interested in seeing who those people may be, you can look on our website too, at our board of trustees. But yeah, I try to make our application as simple as possible for students because I know you work after school, you take care of your younger siblings, your grandparents, you go to practice, you go to your club meetings, you don't have time to sit and spend 5 hours on a scholarship application. And so I try to make it as simple for you as possible. You can answer the pre-qualifying questions in the beginning of the application and see what scholarships you're eligible for. We have technology that'll sift through, and so you don't have to do that and decide what scholarships you could or could not be eligible for. Those of you who are sophomores or juniors and below in high school right now, there may be a chance we still have donors come in who set up scholarship funds with us. So there may be some new scholarships available for you when you are a senior in high school. And definitely there may be some opportunities for you to begin applying for scholarship applications now. Unfortunately for us, you do have to be a high school senior to begin our application process. But if you have any additional questions about the application, I'll be sure to give you my contact information.
Yeah, and I did put some links. So kind of like we mentioned, so you sort of have like your local community foundations that have a lot of scholarships, organizations, but then also, like I said, your school district. So I put a few of the schools around here, Charlotte, Collier, but again, Broward has it, Palm Beach all have it. So you just want to kind of Google community foundation or district foundations. And those are some kind of keywords, like when you're doing that search, that really helps. So Lynn, why don't you kind of talk us through, as an organization, how do you guys kind of handle that application process, and what does that look like for your students?
The application process, I can share my screen with you, and hopefully technology is on my side. But here's the Girls Going Places, the description of the program, and it tells you a little bit about what the students are going to learn, from the women business owners and business professionals. And the application process is actually right underneath.
It's not sharing. So if you clicked on the sharing button.
Okay.
It's the third circle.
I knew I was doing something wrong. Okay. The third circle.
Next to the microphone.
Okay. And then, okay. So
here, I can bring it up for you if you're.
That would be great. That would be great. Let me just.
Yes, let me do that right now.
Okay. Thank you. So the application is right on the website, and all of the instructions on how to apply for, the application are all right there. And so, actually that's the old website, but that's actually a great picture because it's, that's okay. But we've had many mentors that have been involved in the process, but the student application, it should be under students, on the tab there. And it should say, there you go, scholarship application. And the scholarship application, is just filled out. And you go through the guidelines, the rules, and everything else. They're nominated by either the guidance counselors. We have over 150 schools over around 6 counties that participate, and these are for young women that are 12 to 18 years old. And so they can start the application process, early, and then they can also attend, the conference, and then, you can go in and you can actually log in. Right now we're taking applications for the students that want to participate in the actual day of the conference. And so the prizes that are awarded, the scholarships that are awarded to the young girls are $10,000, $5,000, $3,000, and then there's 12 applicants that receive $1,000. And they are really chosen by their school principals and their guidance counselors. They spend their days, with the students, and so they know them, more, than I am. And I always encourage the guidance counselors and the school principals to sort of look outside the box a little bit and maybe find a little wallflower that might be kind of quiet. And I got to tell you that at every single conference, it's usually that quiet little wallflower that becomes the leader of the table. And, in most of the activities, and they just need to hear their voice heard. They need the encouragement. They need to know that, in one particular, I'll share a quick story. There's a local doctor here in town that was told many years ago that she wasn't going to get into medical school. And so she found a way, to get into medical school, one of the really big names. And she found a way to get into it, sort of sidestepped going into another college and started teaching. And so the college she really wanted to attend, those professors were attending her classes, and then of course she was accepted into Harvard. But she's been a participant now for many years, and she's got a lot of education. And I think that Girls Going Places, the one besides the scholarships, the one big takeaway is how do you do this? How do you apply? How do you get into business? Where do you begin? There's not Dr. Stirk, you have a great guidebook that has been so helpful to a lot of students, with the success of where to go. I think that it immobilizes people, and that's the one thing that the students would take away from, and the parents take away from listening to this conference, is that don't stop asking. Just keep on asking people, because some of the programs are grassroots programs as well. and and you don't know where to go find them. And after 22 years of doing this conference, it amazes me that sometimes I still hear people say, it's like, oh, I haven't heard of this program before. And we're in 150 different schools.
And I think so much of it is, even like talking about my workbook, is just giving parents and students the questions to ask and when to ask them. So even like scholarships, I've had a lot of families say, if it was just for that 4th chapter of College Unmazed, I would buy your book. Right. Yeah. This is, I'm trying to like really focus on local, but I want to talk about institutional and national scholarships because there's so much more out there, but it's the how-to, and it can get really complicated, and that's kind of what you're saying. And so it's nice when certain programs kind of mentor you through that and give you some of that confidence, to sort of tackle some of these, because it's hard to put yourself out there. I help kids with college applications a lot of times, and it's hard to like know your it's hard for us as adults to know our attributes, right? What are we good at? What is the scholarship committee looking for? Oh, I'm not good enough. I don't have a bunch of APs. So let's kind of go with the second. Another question that I have is, and we already said this is kind of, what would you tell a student who says, I would never receive a scholarship, like they won't choose me? Melina, what would you say to that? I know, right?
I would say blah, blah, blah. And then I would encourage them to turn that into more positive, because your thoughts become your reality. So if you are constantly thinking, I'm not going to get a scholarship, you're likely not going to get a scholarship. So change your thinking, think more positively about it. Hopefully what you've heard from us today, you could be anybody doing anything, and there's a scholarship for you. There's so many scholarships out there. A lot of my scholarships go unawarded each year because students don't apply. Those people who would be eligible for the scholarship either don't know about it or don't think they would get it, so they don't apply. And it's just, it's stopping you. And we know that students are dropping out of college their sophomore and junior year for financial reasons. Some even their senior year when they only have a semester left, and it's because they can't pay for books. That's where this scholarship money can come in. We have people out there who are working for renewable scholarships that will award you every year that you're in school. So look for those scholarships too, so we can make sure that you're getting money each year to help you complete. Because if you go around thinking, I'm not competitive enough, everybody has a story, and everybody has a dream and a goal, and all it takes is you to just explain that and tell that to someone, and you could win a scholarship that could pay for your entire college career.
And I know both Lynn and Melina, both of you guys kind of talked about a team of people that review these scholarships. You guys fill out the application, which I think Tara had a question. If the Girls Going Places at the PDF, do you complete the PDF and send that in? Okay, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. On that one. And so they send in the application, right? And sometimes they have to maybe write a little essay, a little short answer, because we like to hear from you, right? We want to know what makes you tick and what makes you special. And if you have maybe a special circumstance, like for example, let's say for college applications this year on Common App, they have what's your COVID-19 issues happening right now? What's affected you? So on the other side is the students complete it. So what happens in the actual, and I think this is why, I'm a reviewer. I've worked with Melina and reviewed. I'm always one of the last people, but I do it. And I love doing it. But I always have to say, make sure they're not doing enrollment, because there's sometimes I'm like, I know this kid, I can't answer this, I'm biased because I think they all should get scholarships. But how do they make the decisions on the back end, right? So if I'm going into this, what are some things that like you're specifically looking for that if they're writing an application, they could make it maybe a little bit more, increase their chance a little bit, I guess. Maybe Lynn, do you want to answer that?
Sure. Really what we're looking for is community-minded, people. We're looking for entrepreneurialism, and don't let that that's the way the program started 22 years ago. And a doctor and a lawyer is not, well, unless they own their own practice, but, there's firefighters, there's police officers, there's EMS people, there's military people. It's not just entrepreneurial. So we've changed that around over the years. The application process, is really just like what you said. Tell us about you. And, there is a committee of people that review the applications. We're not all sitting in a room together, so there's no favoritism whatsoever, and they're locked in a little room. Not locked, but they're in their own room, and and they have to read through them, and they bring me the ones that inspire them the most. And it could be, just it's all over the board, but as far as what each one of them is picking out, by the time they get to the application process, they've already been selected for some reason, and the guidance counselors or the school principals see something in them, and and so they've already sort of discussed that part of it. But the process is very hard. Emotionally, it's very hard as somebody that's reviewing, the applications and trying to pick, I guess if that's the word that you want to use, but trying to pick who's going, to win, the application. But, on the application process, it does, talks about financial acumen. It talks about being involved in your community, all the things that we want to see, in these rising stars that are here all, online today. And, thank you for taking the time, to be here, because, the scholarship application is so difficult, to navigate. And there are multiple tools that are out there that are available, and, Dr. Stirk has, those resources, for you. So keep on asking questions. And if you don't have an answer to a question that you feel comfortable with, ask somebody else. Or find somebody else to ask the question to, and like Melania said, we're here for you, to be able to answer, any questions that you have, and just keep going. You have to keep going, keep asking those questions.
Absolutely. Melania, do you want to maybe kind of talk about the back end of your review process? Any suggestions?
Yes, I'll try to, I'll keep it simple. Our scholarship program is the same in that we are very concentrated on fairness. So each application will receive 3 reviews from 3 people who don't know each other. And we use a number of ways to look at those scores to determine recipients who we then recommend to our board for approval. If I could sit applicants down and help them with the scholarship and let them know of some of the questions I'm asking my reviewers, it's just to please pay attention to the prompt or the question that is asked of you. Sometimes some students, you read the first 3 words and you think you have it all figured out, but you don't, and you realize that you're answering one part of just the 2-part question, and I'm asking my reviewers, did the applicant answer both parts of the question? So it's just like that simple mistake that a lot of applicants make, where they're just answering a certain portion of the question, or maybe the part that they want to answer. And really, my reviewers are looking at the quality of your app. So how you answer those questions. Did you answer the question? And then also another key thing that I like to remind students of is use and take advantage of peer reviewing. So ask someone who's super close to you, your best friend, to help you and read over your responses, because your best friend is going to tell you some things about you that you might have left out of your application that could really set you apart and make you really competitive in a group of applicants. So definitely take advantage of that. And then, of course, check for typos. I know some students get really comfortable when I see like text language, and some of our reviewers don't like that. So just keep that in mind. I don't mind it, but some of my reviewers do. So yeah, peer editing answer the questions, read the application, take your time, and correct any grammar and syntax errors with some help from your teachers or someone who you know who's really good with grammar.
Yeah, I think that's really important because, I've read a lot of college essays in everything I do. And kids think they have like the college essay, right? And I can use this college essay for everything. Your Common App essay doesn't quite fit into a Girls Going Places or a Kiwanis scholarship or the Southwest Florida Community Foundation on accounting or whatever. And so it's really important that you look at I always go through and highlight those keywords and really try to put my own, kind of personal spin on it, like what those words mean to me. Because obviously when people are giving money for these scholarships, because people have given money, right? Somebody had to say, I'm committed to these students and I want to help them reduce the costs for college because somebody maybe helped me or whatever the reason may be. So as reviewers, we have to uphold to the donors, somebody that sort of exemplifies that scholarship. So if you don't answer the question or for example, I know the Southwest Florida community, we've had it for a long time, the baseball scholarship, right? If you don't play baseball, then don't be applying for the baseball scholarship. But I do know it's one that we don't get that many applications for. I know there's one year, we didn't have any applications and it's a baseball scholarship. It's not, anyway, I'm digressing, but just make sure that don't think that you have a one size fits all essay. You have to follow the prompts. You have to pay attention. Spelling is a big one for me. I have to say that if I can tell when kids don't put the time and effort into it, and why am I going to give you money if you just kind of halfway do it? So, but it's not about the best writers either. Sometimes kids are they're not vulnerable enough. They don't tell me enough about their personal life and what they're doing. It doesn't have to be a sob story by any means, but tell me what you believe in, what's your passions, what's built who you are. So those are all those things I know when I review. I'm trying to figure out who you are and how this money is going to help you in your future. So hopefully that helps for some people, but I always think that's a good one. So we talked about that. So I think we kind of already mentioned it, but what are some of the biggest mistakes you happen to see in applications? So we sort of mentioned it, right? Not talking about the prompt, errors, not completing it on time. So let's talk about that. I know, Milena, I've seen some questions about, it's open now. The Southwest Florida Community Foundation scholarship portal is open now. And when does it close? In January 11th for you guys? And that could be different for all scholarships, right? All can have different deadlines. So keep, like Milena said, a binder, an Excel sheet. And I always say to parents, this is a good way. Kids are really overwhelmed right now. To help them keep it organized. You're not writing the essays for them. They're completing it. But kind of the deadlines and doing some of that research, I think is always good. But what are some, I think you said, I kind of lost my train of thought. So we're talking about the biggest mistakes, applicants. Oh, you're being open. Other documents, that was it. I'm like, what was I thinking of? What other documents besides an essay, or what could they expect in a scholarship, maybe from both of you?
Go ahead, Milena.
For us, we have, I need your FAFSA. So a lot of students think, oh, well, I have a 2 income household. I'm not going to get a Pell Grant. Don't think that, because the formula changes every year. Even if you have an older sibling who didn't receive financial aid the year before, doesn't mean that you're not going to. The formula changes every year. Think of our economy right now and maybe how lenient they're going to be with financial aid. So don't take that opportunity away from yourself. And I kind of I'm forcing students to do it because it's required for all of my scholarships, merit-based and need-based. I want you to complete your FAFSA. Not only that, is that we all have different need requirements. My foundation's need requirement may be different from the foundation over in Palm Beach County. So don't take opportunities away from yourself. So FAFSA, I can go on and on about it, super passionate about FAFSA. Also your transcript, I need to, for me, I look at unweighted GPAs. So I need to see your unweighted GPA cumulative. In Lee County, it's in a box on the last page with stars around it. In other counties, they're usually on the first page, but just upload the entire transcript just to be safe and make sure I can see the GPA I need to see. And then at least one letter of recommendation. And that letter of recommendation can be from anyone that's outside of your immediate family.
And I mean, and that could be, typically for college admissions, they're looking more for academics, such as a teacher or your counselor. However, for scholarships, you can go more extracurricular or a pastor or somebody that maybe your Boy Scout leader, right? You can do more of a character base. It doesn't have to be so academic based. Am I right on that one?
Yeah. Yes.
Lynn, did you want to add anything to that?
Oh, yeah, a lot of the scholarships that we give away, to the students, they are nominated by, someone in their community. It could be a nurse, it could be a teacher, it could be a guidance counselor, and so it's really based on more of the essay than it is on, their GPA, because not all entrepreneurs have gone to college. And I'm a big proponent of, education. Don't get me wrong. There's been a couple master's degrees that have run through my household, and so, I just want to make sure that everybody knows that that's really important to me. But, I wanted to, this is just a different kind of program where, it's really more nomination based. On your story and who you are and what you want to do. And, I think one important, fact that I find that when we're doing these conferences for the girls is that not always, the first career decision that you make is going to be your forever career. And so there's going to be, a lot of changes that you go through, as you're going through college. I know that my daughter, who's 31, just is finishing, she finished up her bachelor's degree, her 4-year degree with 6 years, and just started her master's degree, this summer. So, it's the tenacity and just keep going, just keep going. And you can sit here 5 years from now and say, darn it, I wish I would have done that. Or you can sit here 5 years from now thinking, I am so glad, that I did that, because it's been proven, throughout many, many careers, the education is so important, in income levels and, just being well-rounded and everything else, has a lot to do with education. So, keep up the good work that everybody's doing.
Absolutely. No, I think that's so valuable. It's just, and one thing that I always, when I work with parents and students, is getting kind of a cache of documents ahead of time. Again, you have that kind of solid college essay, but you can tweak it, you can move things around and make it better, but have your transcript with you. There was a girl the other day that was trying to do an application. December 1st, today is FSU's application. I said, well, where's your transcript? She's never even asked for a transcript. I'm like, well, how are you going to enter your grades? Because you got to enter your grades in the SAR and the Common App. And what? I need my So I know that there's a page in the College of Maze where I say, these are the documents you really should get ahead of time. So that way, when you do see an application or see a scholarship, whether it's national, institutional, local, whatever, that you're ready to go right away. You don't have to wait weeks and weeks to get that letter of recommendation. So definitely get that together so that it's easier than the straggling of documents coming in. So yeah, I think is a good question, Tara, about the local scholarships. I mean, and I wanted to say it earlier, and I sort of slipped my brain, but your school counselors are a fantastic resource. If you look at some counselors' pages, it's a little bare in terms of very specific scholarships, but sometimes there's some good stuff on there. Also, Google works well, asking friends around and then there's what's that app? What's the Collier app that has the scholarships, Melina? Is it, what was that?
The Scholarship Connector.
Scholarship Connector. So Scholarship Connector is one that, was it the Future Ready Collier had put together? Scholarship Connector. It's still going, right? Is that app still going? Up. Yeah, there you go.
So here's, it's a local database. I have admin rights, so I was actually uploading scholarships to this earlier today. And so it's a bunch of us. We always are looking or uploading scholarships on here.
And that's not just
and you can find
it's like it's not
yes, it's for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I'm ours, Charlotte, Hendry, Glades. It is Southwest Florida specific, however. But you can start searching on engines like this and then move to find similar sites in other areas of the state as well.
No, and I think that's a good one because you said you're all kind of uploading new scholarships all the time. So that's a good one that I like to, it might even be in the book, I think. So I don't know, there's like random things in the book, you know how it goes. So trying to, again, kind of point you to everything. So I sort of have asked all my questions. So let's just, I'm just looking. Yep, those are all the ones I thought that I get the most of. Is there any kind of final questions from our parents or students? Kind of ask now. We have obviously some really great experts here and people are passionate about giving money. Oh no, I do not want to restart my computer now. And so, to start up, you have things. Yeah, it's probably in the book. Yeah, probably is. So anything else? No, we answered all those questions.
Well, it looks like Tara had a good question. Is there some good resources or a list for local scholarships for which we should also be applying? I think that the screenshot that you were showing before is a great one because they're always adding to that website, and so that's a great. But go back to your guidance counselors, go back to your school principals if you can, guidance counselors mainly, and just ask them, Tara, for where to go, that you have to, I always, when my kids would apply for a job and, 3 days later they would sit and say, well, they haven't called me back yet. So you have to, I would always tell them, well, it probably is a good idea that you give them a call back because you're showing them that you have interest in that job. And it's the same thing with the college application. You have to go out there and you have to find, you have to be an investigator, basically. And, when all three of us were younger, we didn't know how to investigate and do all these things, but we had to go find the answers, from people that knew the answers. And the resources are right there in front of you, and they're at your schools. So, when Dr. Sturck was asking, what would you tell, students, I'd never receive a scholarship, or where would I go to, or, how do you, the mistakes that are on the applications. These guidance counselors are there to help you. They're overwhelmed and they're busy, but I would say the best thing to do would be call them, make an appointment with them, sit down, make an appointment with them for an hour or so. And if they can take that, kind of time, but they would rather spend that kind of time with these students than it being done willy-nilly. And unfortunately, not knowing the process immobilizes people from moving forward.
Mm-hmm. And I think kind of the key is knowing some of the key terms, right? So you're talking about investigating. And so a lot of times you're like, again, the word foundation, you might not have known prior to this, but that's a big one, right? When you look at local scholarship foundation, wherever you're at in the nation, you can pretty much find what's close to you. Look at your school district website. Usually they have, if you're Palm Beach County District scholarships. And so be very specific. And I think you're going to be able to find a list pretty well, but that's where if you kind of hopefully have picked up some of those keywords that we kept repeating again and again, you can find a lot of good money. And one thing just to remind, when we talk on the 15th, we're going to be talking about award letters and how things are stackable, right? So we're going to be talking about actually looking at a college award letter, looking at tuition. What if I get Bright Futures? What if I get a Girls Going Places scholarship? What if I get a Southwest Florida Community Foundation? What if I get another institutional music scholarship? Like, we're going to be talking about that and breaking down loans and grants and some of that terminology. But all of these are stackable. So the more you kind of get from these different pockets, Girls Going Places isn't talking to Southwest Florida Community Foundation and be like, well, Amanda earned a scholarship for me. Oh, Amanda's earned one for me. We're not talking. We're all friends, but we're not going to say that because, hey, if you're applying, just a quick funny story. I was a school counselor. This was back in Iowa, and we were a small rural school, and we had a big scholarship award ceremony. And this kid, I don't remember the kid's name. Let's call him John. Like, out of the 40 scholarships, I think John got like 15 of them. And it got sort of embarrassing because it was like, John, such and such, come on up. John, such and such, come on up. John. And it was just like, it got really awkward. And finally we're like, John, can you just sit on stage? Because he applied for them and he got them, right? Because other kids simply weren't applying. And so the biggest thing to do is remove the fear. There's money there. We want to give it to you. Just do a good job, and you will have a thorough look at every single application that comes through. So I think that's all for me. Lynn or Melena, is there anything else you want to kind of close with? Because it's 8 o'clock, so we will almost be cognizant of time. Melena, anything, or Lynn? No?
Just apply. Please apply. The worst thing that can happen is someone tells you no, and guess what? You're going to hear that a million times anyway. I'm sure someone in your household told you no today, and you're still living. So apply, because you're going to get so much money. There's so much money out there, and all you have to do is apply for it.
I totally agree with you. You know, you're going to get. I've had in my life, in my career, so many no's, but every no that you get is one step closer to getting a yes. Mm-hmm. And so, I agree with the both of you. It's just apply, and, the opportunities are out there, and we want to give you money, just like everybody's been saying along the way. It's just how to find, the scholarships and find who, you have to apply for. But I think we've given some, pretty good resources. The one thing I did want to add is, through Dr. Stirk, if there's colleges that you want to apply throughout the United States, and you want to know what the tuition is, you want to know what book, room and board and books and what they classify as other things. I think that might be food or, whatever. I have some tools available to Amanda that is updated on a regular basis for any college you could possibly think of around the United States. And I think I shared that with and so maybe one of the good things to know in the beginning is, what are my costs? Mm-hmm. And so that you can, that should be part of your investigating. So, mm-hmm. But good luck to you all, but keep asking for the money.
Great. Well, thank you again, both of you, for being on tonight. And thank you all for the participants that stayed and asked questions. As always, we'll see you in 2 weeks on the 15th for our last College Virtual Connections. Thank you, everybody. You have a great night. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.